15 years ago, an SUV went down a Sevier County embankment with a woman inside who was already dead. That moment launched the murder mystery of Shannon Hercutt, and that still stretches on today. In tonight's Appalachian Unsolved, 10 News anchor Brittany Bailey revisits a case she first covered all those years ago and finds there is renewed hope it might finally be solved.
They say time waits for no one, and that rings painfully true for Penny Lane Stevens.
I never thought we would get this far 15 years later and still unsolved. Never thought that.
It was 15 years ago that she lost her sister, Shannon Hercutt. The well-known businesswoman was found dead in her SUV at the bottom of a Sevier County embankment, but it was not the crash that killed her.
They pulled her body out of the Escalade. They noticed she had a big hole in the back of her head. Well, the way she was laying in her car, there's no way she had that done in the crash.
And that wasn't the only thing that raised suspicion. The Escalade went down a 125-foot embankment, and yet the windshield never cracked. Hercutt's family says she always wore a seatbelt, but she wasn't wearing it that night. And her driver's side window was down, something investigators say she would never do, but the killer would, to reach inside and steer that SUV off the cliff. But it was the autopsy, still sealed by court order to this day, that confirmed what so many already suspected. Shannon Hercutt was murdered.
I think about it all the time. The case file sits in my office. It's not anywhere else. It's sitting right there. It's not been forgotten about.
Jeff McCarter is the Deputy Chief of Investigations for the Sevier County Sheriff's Office and has been on this case from the beginning.
So you feel like you know who did this?
Yes.
How long have you felt like you knew who did this?
Within the first week of the investigation.
So essentially a killer has been free for 15 years.
That's right.
How frustrating is that for you?
It's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
McCarter says the goal now, as it always has been, is to find the evidence to convict the killer. And part of that means getting help from the TBI, which just last fall sent evidence to private lab Bodie Technology to be retested.
With cases such as this, we get one shot, right? Once we find out what really happened and we understand the evidence matches what we've learned in the investigation, we get one shot.
And TBI Special Agent Brandon Elkins is determined not to miss it, despite the challenge of warming up a case that has sat cold for more than a decade.
Time in my career where I believed if a case was more than a year old, then it wasn't going to be solved, and I think we've proven that's not true. You know, it's getting harder and harder to get away with murder. You know, technology is catching up, and we're using today's technology to solve yesterday's crime.
While investigators won't say which evidence is being retested, it could have come from Hercutt's own home, where they seized a baseball bat and found blood on the fridge, along with broken liquor bottles. They say the garage was the crime scene.
Somebody tried to clean it up. We found some items that indicated that some cleaning had been going on there.
So you feel very confident that Shannon Hercutt was killed in her garage?
Yes, I do.
And again, McCarter says he feels confident he knows who did this and has interviewed the suspect before, but he won't share the identity, only saying it is not a stranger, not a work associate, and not a family member.
I'm confident that when the evidence in this case, when we get there, that it may be no surprise to folks that have put in so much hard work on this case, but we're just not there yet.
It's been 15 years. Do you feel like this person thinks he or she has gotten away with it for good?
I think they have. I think they think that, yes.
But you're very determined not to let that be the case.
No. I hope and pray that I'll still be living, that justice will be served. That's all I want.
That was Brittany Bailey reporting. If you have any information in this case, you can call East Tennessee Valley Crime Stoppers. Penny Stevens tells us there is a reward of $45,000 in her sister's case.